my fight fans. So we got ourselves an interesting boxing night this Saturday. We got ourselves Gamebeard Promotions. I believe this is Gamebeard Part 4. I'm talking about Jorge Masvidal's promotions. It's a boxing promotion. We got ourselves quite a few interesting fighters going on this card. We got ourselves quite a lineup. Let's go with some of them. I'm not gonna go break them all down. I know there's a few of them that were gonna make it, but unfortunately could not make it. But we got ourselves a very entertaining card. We got ourselves Jose Aldo versus Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stephens in a boxing match. These two fought before in the UFC a couple years ago, and Jose Aldo had Jeremy Stephens. I believe he stopped him with the body shot. And now they're actually just going to put on boxing gloves. There is no takedowns. There is no elbows. There is no kicks. There is no Muay Thai. There's nothing, just pure hands only. This is going to be very fun and very interesting. You know, you got two MMA fighters who have never really boxed. Well, Jose Aldo has kind of gotten around to boxing already now. I believe he has already won one fight in a boxing match. So yeah, I don't know Jeremy Stephens too well if he's ever really boxed before. To my knowledge, he hasn't. Could be wrong on that. You never know. But yeah, these guys are going to duke it out. These guys are going to have a part 2, and this could be a very fun matchup. I could definitely see Jose Aldo winning. I mean, Jeremy Stephens is always a dog. You know, he's always a fighter. He doesn't back down from a fight for nothing. But, you know, with Jose Aldo, I just feel like his hands has just always been too fast and too much for him. I mean, obviously his leg kicks were always his bread and butter, but he cannot use those now. That's unfortunate. On to the next one, we got ourselves Vitor Belfort versus Jacare Souza. Yeah, you got two legends in the game. You got, you know, Vitor Belfort. He is a legend. He is definitely one of MMA's best strikers ever. You know, you looked at some of his striking skills. You look at that fight that he had with Vanderlei Silva back in the day, where he pretty much just annihilated him, just went in there and just bulldozed over Vanderlei. Jacare Souza, I feel like he's been more of a grappler. You know, he spent most of his time grappling in the cage and whatnot. I do feel like he has a few knockouts here and there, but nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Nothing compared to Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort has had a lot of more knockouts with his hands and, of course, with his legs. But again, this is boxing, no jiu-jitsu, no kicking. So who I give the edge to? I definitely got to give the edge to Vitor. You know, Vitor, I feel like he has faster hands. He might be a little older, you know, where Jacare might be a little younger here. I'm not sure the age range. They're pretty relatively close. But I feel like Vitor has a little bit more experience regarding boxing. I do feel like he's actually had a few boxing fights. I'm not including that one with Evander Holyfield. That was just garbage. Let's not even talk about that one. But I do feel like he's had more experience regarding boxing than Jacare does. So I do feel like he has the edge on this one. The main event just so happens to be Roy Jones Jr. You almost forgot Roy Jones Jr. against Anthony Pettis. Anthony Showtime Pettis. So that's an interesting fight. You know, interesting fight. One thing, I'm not sure what the weight is because Roy Jones, I feel like he's fighting more at cruiserweight now, so 200 pounds. I don't see him fighting any lighter than that. I don't feel like at his age, which I believe he is 54 now, cutting weight. You know, I don't think that's something he's going to be intending to do. Anthony Pettis has always fought at lightweight, sometimes at welterweight. So now it's like, what's going to happen here? Is he bulking up? I do follow Anthony Pettis, and I see he is bulking up and putting on some size. I'm not sure what his natural weight he walks around at, but it just feels like it's going to be a lot. And of course, we already know Roy Jones Jr. was the king of the 90s and the early 2000s. You know, this guy did it all. From middleweight champion, super middleweight champion, light heavyweight champion, ended up becoming cruiserweight champion later in his career. And of course, being heavyweight champion, being one of two men, I believe, to only become middleweight champion and heavyweight champion of the world. That's extremely hard to do. Very, very difficult to do, but he was able to do it. No one could touch Roy Jones Jr. with his hands. I mean, the guy had fast hands. The guy had power. The guy had head movement. The guy was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I honestly feel and wish that we would have got to see Roy Jones Jr. in the 80s. If Roy Jones Jr. in his prime and you put him in there with guys like Leonard, Hagler, Roberto Duran, all these other great legends, oh my God, it would have been phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, these guys would have had some really, really great fights. But at the end of the day, he was definitely pound for pound number one in his earlier days. Of course, we already know that Roy Jones Jr. had fell on hard times after his Antonio Tarver loss. Tarver lost in his second fight, got knocked out. Glenn Johnson got knocked out. Danny Green, he's been knocked out quite a few times. And he hasn't really quite been the same in recent years, obviously. And he's been retired up until he had that exhibition fight with Mike Tyson, believe, 2020? 2021 maybe? I believe it was sometime in November. So He got in shape. He looked good, but unfortunately, it was an exhibition. They called it a draw. But still, for his age, you gotta say, hey, you know what? Ugh. It's like you never know when it's time to hang it up. But it looks like he's not doing it now because he's going against Anthony Pettis, and Anthony Pettis has never been really known for his hands. I don't think he's even had a knockout with his hands. Anthony Pettis has always been known for some from his stylistic moves with his Showtime. You remember that Showtime kick, the Anthony Pettis kick off the cage against Benson Henderson back in the WEC. We know some of his flashy styles that he likes to do. He uses a lot with his kicks and his knees. I believe he's like a Taekwondo expert, Taekwondo black belt. He's always used a lot of his grappling and jiu-jitsu. He's has quite a few really good submissions. I believe that's how he won against Benson Henderson, using an armbar. I believe that's how the victory came about. But still, like I said, Anthony Pettis has always been relatively small. He's never really been anywhere over middleweight, if not bigger than that, depending on where this this catch weight is, if there even is a catch weight regarding this fight. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very difficult because, again, Anthony Pettis is not known for his hands, and Anthony Pettis is, to my knowledge, never even had a boxing fight. I'm not talking about what he does in the training room, but just in general. So here we are. We're going to have Anthony Pettis versus Roy Jones Jr. On paper, Roy Jones Jr. should be able to win this with ease, without any struggle. But again, where you got the inexperience in boxing, Anthony Pettis, you still got the very aging Roy Jones Jr. So one of those is have to give. Whether maybe Roy Jones Jr. gets tired and unfortunately his age catches up to him, or you got Anthony Pettis where it's just he cannot do, or he pretty much cannot do anything regarding Roy Jones Jr. and his skills. Because still, when you're a boxer, you're always going to be a boxer for life. You know these skills. You pretty much were raised with these skills. You pretty much were born with these skills in some sense, like Roy Jones Jr., who's been doing it since he was a kid. Anthony Pettis has been doing MMA since he was a kid as well, not boxing. So it's a totally different game and a totally different sport. So I feel like Roy Jones Jr. should be able to win this, but you never know. Well, there you have it, guys. Let me know in the comments on what do you think about this fight card. Let me know if you're going to be watching it. Let me know who you think is going to win some of these fights. It should be an interesting fight night. It should be very interesting. This isn't like a YouTuber versus YouTuber. This is straight up old-time fighters, retired fighters, and retired MMA fighters, or MMA fighters who want to try their hands in boxing, put together in one, and we get to see what happens. So I'm looking forward to it, guys. Let me know if you are. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.